All right, I'm going to try recording it to the cloud. All right. Hi, and welcome to Vision 2021. Thanks for coming today. And before we begin, I want to just um, have a little bit of introduction as to what you can expect out of this workshop today. So, as I mentioned in the welcome or invite video for this program, I have spent my entire life sort of being torn between being an artist on the one hand and being a business professional on the other. And my quest is to figure out how to bring those two together so I don't feel like I'm being torn in two different pieces, you know, with art sort of tucked away in this corner of my life. I want to live as an artist, even in my day job where I spend so much time there. And that's a lot of time every day to spend without any contact to my creativity and my authentic self. And I know a lot of other creative women who have felt the same way. Some people go the route of sort of leaving business and leaving the corporate world. And I'm looking at it another way. How can I bring more creativity into that space? And so this workshop today is about some of the techniques that I have sort of pulled together over time, taking a little bit here and a little bit there, and bringing them together to create a more whole brained way of approaching goal setting and problem solving. So, for the first part of the day, we are going to create a cosmic smash book, and the theme of this smash book is going to be a sensory exploration of what is it that we want to experience and create in 2021. So we're going to do a nice deep dive into vision and scent and touch and all the senses and really create a visual representation using a composition book and turning it from a simple composition book into a creative vision for what we want our life to become like in the coming year. Then, once we have created this container for our life vision, for our 2021 vision, we're going to then translate that using a business tool called objectives and key results. And one of the places I think that a lot of times we get stuck when we're trying to create change in our lives is that we start too big. We make these massive goals. We make a New Year's resolution. We're going to do this in 2021. And it's good to have a vision that will help you to stay on track, that can be like a North Star. And so that's going to be sort of the creative vision that we're going to be working toward in the first part of this workshop. But then what we're going to do is we're going to chunk it up. And we're just going to say, okay, in the next 3 months, we're going to set some objectives and we're going to define some key results that will help us to understand whether we are achieving those objectives or not and how close we're getting. And that will allow us then to sort of reevaluate again after the first 3 months and go back and say, okay, how close did I get? You know, does some of it need to change, et cetera? But by chunking it into a smaller bit, you're not, you haven't failed if you don't achieve it all in the first 3 months. Instead, you're creating a flexible map for how you can strategically create the creative vision that you come up with in your cosmic smash booking. So that's what we'll be doing today. And um, I would love to open it up now and ask Elena, and this is your turn if you would like. I'm gonna actually we're gonna get a red thread now. I asked everybody to get their red thread, and so um, with that in mind, with the idea that we would like to actually not only create a different vision, but actually create practical steps um, toward getting there. What does that bring up for you? And I'll start. For me, um, what I've already started to find, and this is a yarn on a paintbrush. It also makes a nice microphone. Ah! Um, so, um, so this is what we call the red thread circle, and so I'll pass the red thread to you, Elena, when um, when we're done. And the question that I would like you to consider is, um, you know, what was it that brought you here today, and that you might be hoping to create in 2021? Where do you find yourself at the start of this journey?
The curiosity to know something I didn't know, and I think it was different about Clax's approach. And I am so curious to see what you propose about how I can find some objective through the creativity,
Hmm.
because it's a powerful instrument, but sometimes we don't use it.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's something that I found too, is that you know, at least certainly in America, and I would think probably you're joining from Italy today, but I think there's a lot of similarity in European culture, where there's a tremendous emphasis on on logic and left brain thinking in order to help us navigate the world. And one of the things we were talking a little earlier before the class started about Women Who Run with the Wolves, and you said you've read that as well. And one of the things that Dr. Estes talks about in that book and that keeps coming up is how we're cut off from our wild nature, or we're cut off from our creative nature. And for women, this is especially problematic because our instincts are among our most powerful tools for navigating the world, but we're not really given the skill sets to be able to do that in a practical way. Um, and so I'm actually on the chapter right now in my personal reading about La Llorona, and she talks about how the animus, or the male agent of our subconscious, that aspect of us, is actually, if it's healthy, it will help us to take our creativity and turn it into action and physical, concrete results in the world. And so that's kind of what we're actually driving at in this class as well today, is that idea that it's not just something that's sort of off to the side and separate from our lives, but it's integral to who we are, and that we can use it to get information and insight that can then guide our strategy, not just doing what the latest pundit says, at Bloomberg or Forbes, the latest financial advice or the latest career advice on LinkedIn or whatever, but that we can actually use our own creativity and our imagination to source answers for ourselves. So, um, so thank you for sharing, and I guess we will turn our attention now to the studio, to the desktop, and I'm going to see if I can figure out how to. So I'm going to put myself on mute here so that, and switch my audio over to the other screen so that it will come up as I am presenting um, the.
Yes, I unmute myself and I hear you. And after, when I have to talk, I put on again.
Mute. And if you can hear me now, could you give me a thumbs up? All right, good. And now I've got myself switched over here. And now are you seeing the desktop now as I'm presenting? Perfect. Thank you, Elena. All right. So as I mentioned, today we are going to be creating a cosmic smash book for ourselves. So we're going to take this and turn it into something like this. And before we do that, we are going to actually take a moment and reflect. And this is really particularly important in times like we are coming through right now. You know, I have got to. I'm going to say frankly that for me, 2020 was definitely not all bad. There were actually some aspects of it that were pretty wonderful. For example, I now get to work from home and I don't have to spend 2 hours a day driving to work and back. And that has given me so much more time to devote to my creative practice and self-care and whatnot. But the truth of the matter is that even so, these benefits, such as we may be able to find and celebrate, they came at a great cost to us, particularly, across our communities and across the world, really. And there's just a lot of stuff that we could be carrying that we do not necessarily want to bring that into our work as we're visioning. So um, open up your book and you're going to turn to 2, 3, 4. Go at least 5 pages in. You could really go anywhere in the book, but leave the first couple of pages aside because uh, and um, and just take a few moments. And what we're going to do is we're going to create the foundation for something called a resting page. And all we're going to do is write out and take from what's in our heart right now. And we're going to write it out on the page. And we're going to leave it there and just let the book hold it for us so that we can then turn our attention to the work of creating a vision for the new year. So um, nothing particularly special. I just have a regular pen here and I'm just going to write out what's on my heart and mind, and I invite you to do the same. We'll take a couple of minutes to do this. And I'm going to pause the recording while we write our resting pages, and then we'll come back in a couple of minutes. All right, so once you have written to a point where you feel like you've put down what you need to put down on the page, I want to invite you to grab a pen, maybe of another color. You can use the same pen if you want. And I just want to give you and you notice we wrote across both pages here. This is because, again, we're engaging both our left and right brain, and it symbolizes this whole brain kind of thinking and approach that we're taking, and leaving nothing out. And so I want you to take what you've written and now just write over it an invitation for your creative wisdom and your intuition to come in and share what it is that you need to know. Please show me, tell me, teach me what I need to see. Teach me, tell me what I need to hear. And you can change this up to suit you. If you're feeling the desire to write something a little differently, that's totally fine. That's your intuition, and that's what we're trying to get at. No. And we're just going to let this hold whatever it is we were carrying for us and let it rest here. And we will come back to this later, but we can just leave it like that for now. And the next piece that we're going to do is we're going to start working on our covers. Now, I am going to be demonstrating creating my cover with a paper shopping bag. I've already unfolded it and broken down the seams. And so it's kind of actually hard to see here, but you can see that I've got this large piece of paper, brown paper. Whatever it is that you may be working with, just get it opened and fully laid out flat. And then the next thing we're going to do is kind of set it up to fit. So I'm going to walk you through how I do that. And so I'm going to place the book here, and I'm going to just hold the top edge. And that's actually convenient. There's already a fold that goes the length of the paper here. So I'm going to fold it like that, all the way along the top edge. If you've ever done book covers for your school books, you may have used this method to create a cover. Then I'm going to, using the book as a measure, I'm going to fold the bottom half so that and I'm just going to crease it right there. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom half. And I'm going to wind up with a very long piece of paper that has these flaps folded all the way along the edge. And then I'm going to wrap the book in that. And as you can see, mine is a lot longer than it actually needs to be. So I'm going to fit this front end over the front flap of my book. And I'm going to close that. And I'm going to use the edge of the book so you can see I've fit the whole end of the book into this flap. And I'm going to just now flip this, wrap the book the rest of the way around. And so I'm going to use the edge of the book here, again, using the book itself to measure and fit. There we go. And I'm going to flip the book again. So I'm now covering the back of the book. You can see I've got the front of the book has its cover. Now I've got around the back. And that is way too long, but we're going to fix that in a second. Again, I'm going to use the end of the book to measure. Now, here I'm going to go just a hair longer because when I close the book, it's going to need a little room to stretch. So I'm going to actually go about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch longer when I fold this. I'm not going to go tight. And now I'm going to take my scissors and trim off the extra. And see how that fits. I may need to trim a little bit more afterward, or maybe just nice. But we're going to check it. Now, I'm going to have to fold the book back a little bit this way in order to get it to go into that second half of the cover. All right, there we go. All right, now that is actually a nice fit there. It's maybe a little bit too long. I'm going to trim a little bit more off my book. Take another 1/4 inch. I don't like having the cover to be too floppy, and maybe a little tighter in. If I don't cover the end perfectly, I can always tape it or paint over it as well. So that's another thing to bear in mind, but that's a little better. That feels better. Now, we're going to be covering the outside of this book with collage and paints and doodling and whatever we feel like. So what you might want to do is take a marker or something and just mark those edges. And I'll show you what I mean. Before we remove the cover to work on it, pardon me, I am going to take a marker here and let's see. Seem to have, there we go. Here's a good one. All right. So this is obviously, these are the edges of my book. I'm just going to take a Sharpie and just go right along the edge, the top edge of that thing, just so that when I unfold it, I'll know what the dimensions of my cover are, where the flaps are. I'm going to actually go along the front edge here like this, and that will create a nice border so that if I want to make sure something shows up on my cover, I don't wind up losing it, because usually I'll do some that fold over the edge. They seem to stay in place better if you don't cut them too close. But then I'm going to take the cover off and set the book aside. Now we open this up and we see, voila, we have cover that fits, and we have a nice border that shows us the inside flaps and the main portion of the cover that we're going to be working on. Now, before we go and work on this, we're going to do one more thing. And I'm going to invite you to just, in our opening inquiry, we said, what is it that brought us here today? And so in the work of intentional creativity, this is the core question. Why are we coming to this work? What do we hope to get out of it? And so I would like to invite you now to take a moment and maybe even expand on it again, but write out what is your intention for your work, for what brought you to this work today. So I intend to create a plan for my next year that includes, that honors both who I am creatively and the world context in which I find myself. And so once you've written this down, feel free to, I'm going to pause the video now and give you a moment to consider your own intention and what it is that you are bringing to this work. And we'll come back in a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome back. Now that the intention is recorded, we're going to take the first step toward finding the vision of what we want to experience and create in 2021. And so I invite you to go on a guided visualization with me and a journey. We're going to go through our home and through the familiar spaces of our lives and decide what we want to keep, what we might want to let go of, and what we might want to be calling in for the new year. So if you'll join me in taking a deep breath in and out, and you can close your eyes when you're ready, and in and out. And if you're not quite comfortable, well, take a moment and adjust and get yourself comfy. We're going on a little journey. And one more breath in and out. And I want you to imagine yourself sitting in a favorite place. This could be a comfortable chair in your home, or a favorite cafe, or perhaps a spot in nature. And I want you to feel the environment around you. Notice the temperature, notice the texture. Are you sitting or standing? And, feel the weight of your body and feel your way into the presence of this moment, of this favorite place. I want you to imagine that as you sit there, you're going to be presented with several tableaus that are going to, right before you, you see a broad stage. And in front of that stage is a long velvet curtain with golden tassels. And you realize you're in a theater and you're going to be presented with tableaus to look at. And as you look at them, you're going to have the opportunity, just like a contestant on a game show, perhaps, or like a queen surveying the wealth of her kingdom. You're going to have the opportunity to evaluate what you see and make choices. As Dr. Estes talks about, creativity is all about choices. And so the curtain rises, and before you, you see a tableau of your home. And you get up from the chair and you decide to take a walk through this tableau of your home. And as you go through, I want you to notice the furnishings, notice the decor, the curtains, the knickknacks that you may have, the books that may be on your shelves or on your table. And I want you to walk through until you notice something that wants your attention. This is something that feels out of place, something that feels, and it may not be a physical object that's in your home. It may be something that represents an emotional situation or a relationship or something, but something that feels like it needs to move or change because it's bringing in and it's holding an energy that you want to release from your and pause and make an examination of this object and see what what it is, and whether or not it reveals its message to you at this time. And you can now set that back or leave it where it is. And I now want you to continue walking through. Perhaps you pass through a doorway, up a stairway. You're moving to another part of your home now. And this time, I want you to notice something that just makes your heart burst with warmth and joy and gratitude, something that you're so grateful to have in your home and in your life. And I want you to pause and notice and as you're examining this warmth and this beautiful feeling, are there ways that you could bring more of it into your life? Are there other places where it could exist in your home? Feel the weight of it if it's something you can pick up in your hand. If it's a person, um, do they have anything to say to you? Uh, do you feel like moving or dancing in any particular way? Uh, Spend a moment with this as well. And now we're going to go to one more room in your home. And this room is going to be a large space, an open space. It's space for something to call in. And what is it that you might be calling in to this space that exists in your home? Something isn't there yet, but maybe um, there's a place, perhaps a place that you clear for it. Okay. And now you're going to leave the tableau of your home and go back to your to your place where you're going, where the curtain's going to go down and the stage is going to turn and a new tableau with a new curtain color is going to present itself to you. And as the curtain goes up, you recognize a place where you work, where you are productive, where you engage in the community outside of it. And you observe this tableau, and you may enter it or you may just observe it from a distance. I want you to notice, what is the workspace? What are the features of the workspace? Is there a desk and a chair? Is it a classroom? Is it outdoors? Um, you know, observe the physical space that is before you and notice whether there are people there or whether it is solitary. And now what I want you to do is look around and see what exists in this space that represents your creativity, that represents your artistic vision or your expression of self, and and how do you use that in this environment? And also, as you look around, Is there anything that strikes you as being disharmonious and out of alignment? And all you need to do right now is just notice what is there, what what feels aligned, what feels out of alignment, and is there anything missing? Now we're going to close this tableau, and the third and final tableau is going to come and present itself. And this is yet another curtain. And we looked at our home, we looked at our place of work, and now we're going to look at a gathering of friends, um, a place in our community that is important to us. This could be a church or a theater group that we're involved in, or it could be just a gathering with family and friends. And as the curtain rises, again, I want you to simply be present in this space and notice one thing that feels so warm and connected and aligned with who you are. Notice if there's anything that feels out of alignment, and notice if there's anything that feels like it is missing. And just make these observations as you move through this gathering, this community place. And when you feel like you've had time in this space, I want you to go back to your seat, go back to your comfortable place where we began this journey. I want you to shrug your shoulders and stretch your arms and take a deep breath and open your eyes and come back to where we are. All right. And now we're going to take a moment, and in addition to what was on our intention, were there any additional things that came up in the visioning that you want to make a note of? So we're going to go back to our intention that we're writing inside our cover and just take a few minutes and write down about what you saw. Now, if you're like me, I normally have trouble even when somebody else is doing the guided visualization, actually seeing and hearing things. So then what you do is you trust your imagination. You can go through, if you didn't feel like I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything, that's okay. It's about your imagination. And what we're doing is cultivating imagination. And so just take a few minutes, and I'm going to pause the recording again. And we're going to take a minute to record for each of these spaces in our home, in our occupation, our job, and in our community, something that aligns and that lights us up, something that feels like it needs to move or be released, and something that you might want to be calling in for the new year. All right? All right. So I'm actually going to take a moment and share what I am going to be releasing, what I'm going to be cultivating, and what I'm going to be calling in for 2021. As the one I think that probably surprised me the most was in community, releasing anxiety and releasing a focus on myself and expanding marketing and business savvy, confidence, caring, um, and service. And so just being more present to the community that I'm trying to create around myself or create, I don't know, for my beloveds, and calling in my tribe, calling in the Council of Muses, which is the mastermind group that I've been running for about a year now. But um, yeah, calling in actually community around me, because it's been an isolating year. I think a lot of people feel that. Um, if you would like to share, Elena, since you're here with me today, is there anything you'd like to share that came up for you?
Um, for me, another point to growing up was the relationship with colleagues on work, because this year we are a lot of people, and some is new. We have to create a new relationship, and we have to know each other. And this is another part who became after the visualization. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And so now we get to the really fun part of this project of creating the cover for our Cosmics Math book. So I'm going to switch my camera view again, my audio and my camera view. So I'll be silent for a moment here. All right, so hopefully you can hear me again now. If you're able to, can you give me a thumbs up? Can you hear me now? No? Hello, hello? Okay, good. Awesome. Those technical challenges are interesting when you have to moderate for yourself. So here we are. We've got our, we've written our intention, and we've also done some writing about our visualization and what came out of that. And now we're going to flip it over, and we're going to let the muse have some time to play. And so part of your supplies for this were to bring in some magazines and found items. I actually have a little box of items that I keep, just random stuff. And so basically we're going to take the next half hour or so and go through and just place things down. And as you're doing what you want to, as you're doing this, what you want to be looking for is, how does something make you feel? You know, and does it feel like it belongs on this page? Now, you're going to want to remember that it's totally fine to overlap these borders, but if you put something outside of these borders, it's not going to show up on the cover. It's going to be there. It's still going to matter, because everything that we put down with intention, and that translates itself in a physical way into your actual mentality, into your psychology, and influences the kinds of results that you're creating with your minds and your thoughts. But just flip through, and anything that feels like it belongs, just start tearing and pulling stuff together and getting it ready that you might want to use in your collage. So I mean, being an artist, I think a paintbrush is always appropriate for me. So ooh, I love this. It's time to redefine what paint can do. That's pretty fun. I don't know about the can at the bottom, but I kind of love that, actually. So yeah, take some time and go through your magazines. And you know, like I said, if you have collected, you've got old sketchbooks or whatever you may have pulled together. Ooh, I've been holding on to this for a while. This is a crown. Um, Maybe this wants to go somewhere today. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, here are some old names I wrote from a painting. People I know. Maybe they want to be in my book. I don't know. Anyway, have fun and just go ahead and start to collage. I'm going to pause the recording now and give us all some time to work. Okay. Okay, so once you have a good variety of stuff, I have way too much stuff here, honestly. But once you have, the next thing I am going to suggest that you do is go through and sort of figure out which things sort of relate to what you want to experience in different areas of your life. For example, I'd say this maybe Looks like it relates to color and visual. So maybe I'll have one area of images that relate to what I want to experience visually, things that I want to experience with relationship to taste and scent, um, things that I want to do. I love this. And this I maybe put in visual, maybe this I don't know. But try to sort of look at these and see what patterns emerge. I've got something here going on with, I don't know, simplifying a wardrobe. That's interesting. Not really something I was planning on exploring today, but there you go. It shows up, and so maybe something to do with that. I've got money. I've got kids. That's a good old memory. Not going to collage that though. Red wine. And so try to think about all five of your senses and whatever else that may come up. Um, this is a chapbook that I published. Um, maybe I have one that's about my creative activities. So this is poetry and painting, um, my activities in the community, buy it, sell it. So I'm going to go through and sort of organize these and start to think about what categories they might represent. Some of these are probably going to go inside the book as well. So you don't feel like you have to fit it all on the cover. You've got the entire book. And what we're doing as we go through this and as we engage all of our senses is not only seeing what is it that we want to create and design into our life for the coming year, but also you're engaging your muse, because the muse is that part of you that responds to sensual pleasure, to beauty, to anything that's aesthetic, etc. So, what this is such a cool image, the juxtaposition of the organic with a very simple graphic around the eye versus almost looks like a steampunk cyborg. I don't know. It's cool. I feel like this one feels like it might go on my cover. Anyway, so spend a little time now going through the images that you've collected and just see what sorts of patterns emerge and as you look at them from the frame of, you know, what is it that you want to bring into your life visually? What is it that you want to bring into your life in terms of flavor, in terms of sound, etc. And remember, as you do that, this is us courting the muse. Okay, so I've sorted through enough of these that a few themes are starting to emerge for me, and I wanted to share them because I thought they might be helpful to you. They might trigger an idea for you as well. And so what I've got starting to emerge are some materials and things that I will use to make pockets in my book. So I've got some tea bags. I've got some little index cards that I wrote little sayings on in the past. And so this is a collection of potential pockets. And this is a frame. So sort of physical elements that I might wind up putting into the book. Then I've got a theme of sort of techie type stuff that's coming out. So I've got this little grid here. I think I had that lady with the where did she go? She's here somewhere. Anyway, I showed her to you earlier. Um, this is sort of the practical, the hardware type stuff that's coming together. More pockets. I've got little phrases that I cut out from the magazines that seemed interesting to me at the time. And I've got a pile of sort of random images that I don't know what they mean yet. So I've got a collection that's all about color. And I've got a collection that's all about intentions and prayers that I've actually written over the years. And I've always intended to incorporate them into different different journals or paintings or whatnot, and I never have. And so I'm feeling like it's time to call them in maybe and bring them in somehow into my workbook. So I've got that section collection of items, and I've got a collection of little sketches and whatnot. This is one that one of my sons made when he was really little. Here's a little paint palette that I had. Um, so that's sort of another area. So as you sort through them, categories will suggest themselves to you. You'll start seeing things in common. You know, this is just a random image, so that'll go over here in this pile. And so enjoy the process, because that's really where the magic happens, is when instead of going in with thinking you know what it is you're looking for, that you're discovering as you go. The images that you suggest tend to have themes that you can't necessarily discern right up front. So you need to spend some time with them and see what comes forward. And all of a sudden, I go from having a complete, well, it still might look like a mess to you, but it's starting to make some sense to me, of what is here on my page. Yeah. And what's here in front of me in terms of being able to decide what's going to go onto my Smashbook cover. So, yeah, there she is. There's my half techie lady. And the clowns, I think, can go. All right. Thank you. Elena, by any chance, are you seeing that happen for you as well? That some themes are emerging as you're working through your sorting through sort of the materials and images that you collected?
Yeah, because
I love that. Is that something that you created? Yes,
yes,
those
is
are some of your sketches, I think.
yes, and
Can't hear you though.
kind
I think you're on
of
mute.
a symbol. Okay, and it's okay.
But
Now I
yeah,
have
cool stuff.
some material to
Um,
create my page, my cover.
So once you got sort of the emerging themes for your particular Smashbook, it's then time to start picking what are the pieces that are actually going to go down on your cover and arrange them and glue them down. So I'm going to keep my camera on while I go through that sort of sorting and winnowing process. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the other items that I'm not using on my cover aside, because again, with cosmic smashbooking, we are intentionally engaging all of our senses. And so I'm going to probably take most of what I don't use on the cover and sprinkle it through the rest of the book, once we get that far, as an invitation to the muse, creating openings to beauty throughout the pages. So, don't, nothing will be lost, but what we're doing now is we're going to winnow down through what we have and find out what is coming through for the cover and sort of the theme of the book and the theme of what we want to create in 2021. So switching camera view again. There we go. That should be better. All right. All right. So, Elena, is the desktop showing up again now as the main screen? Hopefully that's where we're at. If not, then I invite anybody who's watching this.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm going to just go over again where I wound up with all of this. These are my pockets, my pile of stuff for pockets. Those are going to pretty much all go on the inside. Maybe I'll put something on the outside, but most likely inside the book. I have a theme of some food. I'm really interested in incorporating a lot more fruits and vegetables into my diet this year, so that's definitely a theme. Technology and self-expression is another theme that I have kind of emerging, which makes sense because I've got a lot of technical challenges going as I learn how to produce my videos for, workshops and all of this stuff. Color is something, so you probably noticed that I'm wearing all black, and that has been a theme for me for a long time. And I don't think I'm going to be changing my wardrobe up, but I am feeling like it's time to bring a lot more color into my life in 2021. So I'll go through those and see what I want to include. I have a collection of phrases and short writing that caught my eye. This was kind of fun. I took a series of images and then I just layered them. I just took some glue stick and layered them together to create a new image out of them. And I'm not sure what this is all about yet, but it'll be interesting to figure that out. And as I mentioned before, I've got my little scraps and sketches of art that and some of these are things that my kids did over the years. And then finally, my little prayers and intentions that I've written for myself and others over the years, people that I've wanted to keep in mind. And I feel like that's going to be important. So as I go through this, I'm just very intuitively selecting what wants to be included on the cover and what doesn't. And I want to leave some space as well. I'm not trying to fill it all up right now. That pile will probably go in the inside. This really feels like it wants to be on the cover. And that doesn't surprise me. I frequently work with themes of dark and light, and that's definitely good. This is another 2 separate images that I pieced together. I really love the way that they came together. Maybe not those pieces on the cover. And then let's see. I don't know. This is speaking to me right now, and this is definitely speaking to me. How to paint anything. When I think about that, I'm kind of feeling like, what if I could paint my entire year? I don't know. That certainly would be the most creative year ever if I were able to somehow metaphorically treat my entire life as if it were a painting. And then we can have. Actually, I really do love the way that would go with this image here. That's pretty cool. Not feeling that right now. Definitely feeling these here. This chair and this time to redefine what paint can do. Maybe some pencils. That'd be cool. All right, we've got a fair amount of stuff going on here. Let me just see if there's anything else that wants to be included. This is kind of cool. I might leave that in. Yeah, that might be, yeah. Yep, not there. And then anything from here that wants to be included. They're going to go somewhere else. Music, that's kind of cool. I don't know. Oh, there we go. That's what I think that was the last piece I was looking for. We're talking about painting my life. I think a bit of my own painting and paint from my old projects is perfect to include. All right, now I'm just going to spend some time. One thing I want to make a note of is that while it's true that anything that goes overlaps these edges will not show up on your cover, it's going to be folded and it's going to be hidden inside. But if, let's say I want to put this here, right? And I just want to position it. First of all, I can use this as a guide. I want to make sure, let's say I want to make sure I get this whole circuit board. The other thing is that, but instead of cutting this off, I'm going to glue this down. And then when I fold this back up to make the cover, this piece is going to stay on a lot more securely because it's just got more surface area to stick and it's going to be, tucked over nice and deeply over that edge. So don't feel like you have to trim everything to exact specifications. You actually get a fair amount of, ooh, love that actually. A fair amount of nifty, unexpected coolness. I think we put the chair, that'll be sort of like, I think the back cover of the book, and this will be the front flap of the book over here, is what I'm thinking right now. How to paint anything, huh? There we go. So have fun with that. And I'm going to turn the recording off, and you can pause it here and come back when you've done putting down your stuff on your page. Okay, so I am back just for a minute. And as you can see, I've kind of got my layout here of how I want to put things on the page. And all I'm going to do now is just sort of put things down with a little bit of glue stick and hold them in place. And in the next phase, we're going to put a glaze layer over this. So if you have some Mod Podge or something like that, we're going to just, after we glue this down, we're going to put a little bit of a color glaze down. And there we go. Put these in. And I am not going to be super particular about getting these down because we are going to put another layer down over the top of it. So they'll be pretty well secured once we put the layer of paint and or Mod Podge down over the top of this. So I'm just gonna rough these in, basically. Consider it as sketching with paper and glue sticks. And pay attention to any messages that may be coming up as you do this. For example, as I'm reading how to paint anything, I'm like, what if I could paint a business? And it doesn't even necessarily have to make sense, but now I'm thinking about it, what would that mean? If we truly are redefining, for example, how we use paint, what does that what does that amount to? How does that change things? Does it mean that instead of doing a traditional business plan, obviously they're maybe incorporating more creative process into strategic planning, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. So, um, but just as I mentioned, just pay attention as stuff occurs to you. See what it is. See what's coming up. So last step before lunch is we're going to add, once you feel you've gotten your stuff down, uh, what I'm going to be using is a little bit of, I think I'm going to try to use Mod Podge if I can get it open. Sometimes I have trouble opening my Mod Podge. There we go. I'm going to take this Mod Podge with just a little bit of paint mixed into it. And I'm going to put a glaze down over this entire thing and allow that to dry. And as I'm putting the glaze down, I am asking myself as well what other messages might be coming forth. I'm creating a new surface above this layer where another message will be able to emerge. And I'm thinking about what is the theme of what has come up here. Ooh, you know what? I think that wants to be on there too. Um, and thinking about, there we go, or feeling into what the message of this collage might be. Um, so I'm going to take a little bit of, sorry, I got to find my palette here. I'm going to put, now I have some special, very inexpensive brushes that I use just for working with Mod Podge and other like glues and varnishes. So I'm going to put a wee tiny bit of Mod Podge right onto my palette here. And then I'm going to add in, let's see, what color do I want? I think I'm going to use a phthalo turquoise. So if you look at this bottle, you'll see that it actually shows you the transparency. So you can see how you get the turquoise, but you can see the black lines through it pretty clearly as it's indicated on the bottle. That means it's a good color for a glaze because it's very transparent. And so even though it's pretty intense, it's not very opaque. And I'm just going to mix this color in with my Mod Podge. And I'm going to put a color glaze over this entire, and wherever things are coming up, I'm actually going to go underneath and stick them down. And I am going to add just a bit of water in as I'm creating this as well, because you don't want too much because you don't want to dilute the glue. But you may find that you need to add a little bit just so that the paint will move. And you can go over the entire surface of your painting or of your thing, or you can just do it in selected areas. So that's entirely up to you. But there you go. I am now creating a glaze, and then I'm gonna let that dry. The other thing that happens when you put the glaze over the entire thing, even if it's thinner in some places, is that you create a unifying effect. We have a collage with many disparate elements. And so by putting this glaze over it, we're starting to bring the whole image together and bring it to the same level, so so that something can emerge out of the whole. And I'm just using different applications of the brush as I go through it. A little scrubbing, a little bit of water wash. Interesting. I'm not sure whether I love this or not, but I will by the time I'm done with it. I always do. So it's all right. Finding a way to make it work is one of the most creative things you can do, actually. So, and that's what life is all about too. So it's funny that we think that life and creativity are like creativity is not a part of life, because it's honestly sort of almost the most fundamental thing we do on a constant basis is find ways to make things out of what we have. Find a solution to a problem at work, whatever. We're going to use the tools we have, the people we know, and things that are available to us. But that's a form of creativity in and of itself. So it's not. And when we use creative practice like this to access our imagination, and that opens up new sources, internal sources of information that we can add into and factor into creative problem solving. Okay. Add a little bit more of the yellow turquoise here. All right. And I just realized I didn't really think about it when I picked the color, but turquoise is, for me, it's a color, or teal is a color associated with my higher self, sort of my seat of inspiration within me. And so, yeah, think about the choices you're making, and do they have any significance for you that you might not have thought of when you first chose to create your page that particular way. So, great. We're going to now give these guys a little time to dry. Hi there. I hope you are coming back from a nice break and had a chance to get some lunch or just refresh your beverage or whatever. And I'm back from lunch now, and I am offering the Muse some chocolate because it's always good to make sure you treat her along the way. And I want to talk now, take a moment to sort of share where we're at. My cover is now glazed, and I'm kind of excited about the way that it's come out. I'm going to do some design elements on the cover next. And then while that is drying, we're going to actually smash our books and gild the edges of the books. But before we do that, I would love to invite Elena to share where she's at with her cover and what may be coming up, if you'd like, Elena.
Okay, this is my cover. Okay, one part is ladies with music and some nature, and some hand who took together is our sister, our beloved, and is the moment of lineage together. In this way is my Okay, I am not so young, but it's not important. When I go jumping up and find my food, because I am vegan and I have a lot of power, and this change after an operation of cancer. I must do change in my alimentation, and this way for me is so powerful. And after the art, I never paint before. I never, not ever, because when I was younger, my mom bring out colors because my father paint, and it's not good for her. It's a paint, and all the ladies is mine. You see, oh my gosh, I can do it. And in this way, it's paint, and is this after translated the word because they are in Italian, and this is colored earth is the sister in the world, because in COVID period I find a lot of sustain with USA sister, not or Italian sister, but a large community of color or woman and smash cooking. And together is the word was art and research, energy, and lighting the tire. Is so powerful for me because it's a discover of another word, and I be so fear about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. That was really cool. I really especially loved the map and how you talked about the intentional creativity community as an important point of contact and support throughout COVID. I have found the same to be true, and really appreciated that detail on the book. And it's a great thing to think about cultivating for 2021. So I'm going to switch my camera view one more time here, and I'm going to add some symbols now to the collage that I've created, and invite you to do the same. I'm going to and so I'm going to just shut up and switch over here. All right. Hopefully this is now switching over to my desktop view, and you'll see I've got some similar themes going on here on at least the art piece of it is obviously a huge piece, and a lot of fresh foods and whatnot. For me, this cover is really starting to be about what seems to be a dichotomy between sort of business and technology and art and individuality, and sort of bringing the two together. So I'm going to have some fun experimenting with that. What I'm going to do now is I am going to go in and add some details in white, because I've got a nice dark background, pretty dark overall. And so in the light areas, I'm going to add some dark, and in the dark areas, I'm going to add some light details. So if I can find my paint to do that with. So I've got my acrylic paints here, Liquitex Basics in black, and my golden paints in white. I would be using less expensive paints, but I'm not sure where my regular white has gone, frankly. And what we're looking to do here is just add some pattern and color and listening deeply. And at some point you may find, or you may not, and you can spend as much time, and I encourage you to spend as much time on this stage as you want, including beyond the time you're spending today on this workshop. So I'm going to start by just tracing some lines and following some of the patterns that I'm already seeing in here. I've got a little bit of white paint on my brush. I'm sort of loaded heavily on one side, and I'm just dragging it along in here and tracing some of the existing shapes and bringing them back out again after the glaze. And I'm going to sort of smudge it out a little bit. And what that's going to do is it's going to create kind of a glow effect. So you see how as I, and actually I can go in with a dry brush and maybe a flat dry brush. Find one here like this. This is a flat bristle brush. And I'm just going to pull this color out a little bit to sort of create even a little bit more of a glow effect. So that's a nifty little technique. And little rays that come out. All right. So I'm going to start adding some light, and then I'll go in and do the same thing with a different brush once I've done that, and go in with my black and sort of do the same thing. Follow some of the existing lines. And while I do this, I'm basically listening to see what other messages this collage might have that I haven't already observed. I think I have a sense of the title of this book already, but it occurred to me while I was off taking my lunch break that what it really is about, for me, this is about the cycle of, that you may have heard the Rumi's famous, no, excuse me, not Rumi. It was Khalil Gibran in The Prophet. He wrote that love is work is love made visible. And what I'm playing with is the idea is that work is love made visible, but also work is art, and also it's life, and art is life. And so I feel like the three of these words relate together in sort of a constant circle for me. And I think that's going to wind up being almost more of a symbol than a title, but I can see it being, and I'm going to see, where did my, kind of lost my line here for where the, there we go. I can guess it's going to be about there. So I'm going to start blocking that in, actually, where I might be able to sort of create that. It's interesting because it also becomes kind of a compass. I've got and a symbol of recycling. Another interesting symbol for our times. So just whatever comes up, just go ahead and paint your own symbols and your own story onto the collage that you've created. You may also want to go in and create pattern in some places. So it might be as simple as dots or You know, I might go in here and create some more rays of light going into my, coming out of that crack, that light crack that I placed on the page, and back. Yep. I don't know. The mystery. Everything is a mystery. If there's something you want to bring back out, you can bring back some light and dark into it. Feel free to use any colors you like. I'm just using white and black because I feel like I've got a theme going on here of light and dark. So. Good. Okay. So this is not quite dry yet, so I don't want to write with my white pen quite yet. If you are going to write over something that you've painted, then you want to make sure that the paint is completely dry before you write over with any kind of a marker or a gel pen or whatever. Otherwise, you can pretty quickly destroy the tip of your writing instrument. But I kind of want to get those 4 words. Work is love made visible. What I'm using here is a Sakura Jelly Roll size 10. It's a terrific white, and it's you know it's easier to work with the thicker version than some of the smaller nibs that are available of this marker. So you can continue working on this. I am going to probably do that, but before, I'm going to set this aside to dry, because as I mentioned, I can't do some of the details that I want to do right now. So the next thing I want to demonstrate is smashing the book. So the first thing we need to do in order to prepare the book is to grab our glue stick, and we're going to glue every 2 pages together. So we are going to take this page and just do a quick little X. It does not need to be like tightly glued or something like that, just enough to get it to stick together. So you want to go through the entire book, and every 2 pages you want to glue them together. part of the reason it doesn't need to be stuck together, so there's the resting page we did earlier, doesn't need to be stuck together, is because at some point you might want to pull them apart and put something else in between the pages. But for setting up the book, we're doing this to reinforce the pages, because we're going to be doing multimedia art products on it, and so that gives it a little bit more substance to hold up to the putting the material, putting paints and tapes and whatever we collaging into the book, etc. And so there you go. Just go through the book. I'm going to pause while I finish this bit. Okay, so here we are at the end of the book, and the next thing we'll do is we are going to go through and smash the pages of the book. That's why it's called the Cosmic Smash Book. Now, I want to talk a little bit here about, and I want to thank Elena for mentioning lineage in her comments earlier, because that's an incredibly important part of this work as well, is that it's within the context of intentional creativity. Everything we do has a meaning, that we assign to it. And so the meaning, and this part may feel a little difficult or a little challenging for those of you who have not done Cosmic Smash Booking before, and that's okay. That's pretty normal. We're pretty well trained to try and be perfect. If you've got one extra page left over like I have here, plainly I missed something along the way, you can feel free to just paste it down on the back cover, and that's sometimes a nice thing to do anyway. But it can be pretty scary the first time that you do this. You're going to take the pages and crunch them right down, just like this, and go all the way through. Start with one page, at least one page. And as you do it, you are imprinting your energy and your DNA onto this book, but you're also calling out, or crushing out the perfectionist, and calling in mystery and surprise. All right, so there can be no worry about what happens on these pages, because this is not just about creating something pretty. This is about getting past the shoulds and the musts, and getting at what other people tell you should be true for you, and getting at your own inner wisdom. And so smashing the pages is a great way to symbolize it. Anything that you're frustrated with that you might want to smash out, you know what? Put that into the smashing too. All right, see you on the other side. So the next thing, once you've smashed all your pages, is to go out and you're gonna straighten them out again, and then we're going to paint the edges in what we call building the edges. So, but I know I mentioned I was going to talk a little bit about lineage and the importance of lineage. And so this is a great place to talk about it, because this whole process here of smashing the book is part of what makes Cosmic Smash Booking so unique and distinct from other types of art journaling. As I mentioned, other types of art journaling might focus more on technique of the art, creating a beautiful image. But Kat Zelda Geller created Cosmic Smash Booking for a different purpose. And I'm going to switch here real quick. So when she created Cosmic Smash Booking, Kat Geller did it with the idea of, she used simple materials like this Cosmic Smash, like this simple composition book, because it's inexpensive and makes it accessible. And she did it with the idea also of helping people to confront and conquer the inner perfectionist or the inner critic that holds them back oftentimes from actually engaging in creative acts. So, uh, so that's another way, by using inexpensive materials and then by deliberately smashing the perfection out of the book. Isn't this cool? Like, have you ever seen a notebook that looks like, if you haven't done smash booking before, have you ever seen this before? It looks like a flower to me every time I get done. Anyway, um, so we're going to just straighten the pages out again, and then we will go in and um, paint the edges of the book, and then we'll put the cover back on and tie it up with some ribbons. So here you can see the book has now, the pages have been mostly stretched back out, not flattened. We're not trying to get them perfect. We're trying to let them be imperfect, let them have their secrets and surprises. But we have now got this lovely crinkly edge, and we're going to now add a little bit of color. So for me, I think I'm going to pick the same turquoise that I used earlier, and maybe with that a little bit of yellow. So I've still got a lot of black and white paint here on my palette, so I'm going to use a different palette because I do not want that black paint mixing with anything else on my canvas and on my palette. And I also so here's my blue, here's my that. I am going to get my spray bottle and I'm going to saturate the edges of these pages. Just really wet them down because I really want this paint to soak into the edges. And I'm going to be using a pretty fluffy brush for this. This is a watercolor brush and it holds a lot of water. So that also is going to help the color to really sink down into the edge of these pages. Let's see. Maybe I even have a fluffier. Actually, you know what? I do have a fluffier brush here. So let's go here. I'm gonna spray the edges of these pages down. I'm gonna be pretty generous with this spray bottle. And then I actually have a very fluffy brush right here in my microphone, my red thread microphone. So I'm gonna start with the yellow because that's the lighter of the two colors, and I'm just gonna paint the edge. Ah, love that. And see how that's now sort of going into the edges of the pages already. And I'm going to add a little bit more water because, like I said, I really want to be generous with this and really let it touch on every page of the book. And that's going to give us a really interesting and unique, there we go. It's going to add a little bit of the turquoise in. And I am not trying to cover over everything now. I'm just trying to add bits of color to have a nice mix of colors on the edge of this book. All right. Maybe I'll put a little bit of it onto the, there we go. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? How that dark is really dramatic in contrast with that bright yellow. That's very beautiful to me. All right. And we have that dark and light theme going on again too. All right. So once you have gilded the edge of your book, you're going to need to give it some time to dry. And hopefully you will have found that your cover in the meantime has gotten most of the way there. And so let's bring this back and see where we're at with that. Yeah, this is all nice and dry now. So I'm going to go back in with my white jelly roll because this is nice. And so I had love is work made visible. All right, love is work is art is life. And I think I'm going to continue those dots all the way around it. I like that as a design element. So I'm going to go back in and add some more of those dots. And let's see, do that while the edges of my pages dry. Oopsie daisy. And then maybe add some glitter as well. Actually, you know what? The pages drying do not stop me from putting the cover back on the book. I'm going to do that. I'm going to fold it back along those original edges. And then I think I'll paint my details on after I get the cover back onto this book. Now I'm going to make sure I get this in the right direction. I think this is the front. Nope, it's the back. Okay. So I got it facing me top to bottom. I'm going to turn it like I'm turning the page of a book. There we go. That should work this time. And yes, now I've got the front cover on the front. I'm going to slide this right back in to the pocket I made for it. And I'm going to do the same on the back. I pull this page up because I did not want it to go. There's a single gap there, little hole. Wonder if that, wow, I think I just gave myself a glue splinter. Dang, that's unpleasant. Or just a scratch, I'm not sure. Oh, I did, look at that. I gave myself a splinter of glue, or maybe it's a paint bristle. I don't know what it is. Something anyway. Have to go clean that up in a minute. Can't say I've ever gotten a splinter from painting before. First time for everything, I guess. Come on. Oh, all right. So my cover is getting stuck there. So I'm going to just take a little tape and close that tear up so that my book cover won't get stuck on it going in. It'll be a smooth whole page again. All right, let's try that again. I'm going to turn this slightly inside out again like I did. Oh, that's better. And now I get the cover back on the book. Oh, it's being stubborn again here. A stubborn cover. I think that does it. All right. All right, so here we go. I love how mysterious this is on the back. That almost looks like it could be a pocket, doesn't it? Maybe that will be. I don't know. Right, and art is love, is work, is life. And I'm going to go back to the original quote from Khalil Gibran and just to bring that back in here. Made visible. Made visible. Something about visibility. Paint is often used to make things visible. Maybe it's about a time for coming out of the shadows and not hiding and not being afraid to do my work in the world. Made visible. Here's a little trick. When I am painting letters, I always go from top to bottom, and if I've got curves that go in different directions, I'll do one half and then I'll do the other half separately. I don't try to do it all at once because invariably I'll mess it up if I try to do it all at once. Biz dot, drag it down. I always try to drag down whenever I have the choice when I'm making letters. B, and never change direction when I'm writing in paint. So I made like a C and then come back up to the top to draw the little inside bar on the E. Life is love, is work, is art made visible. I like that. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is add some ribbons to reinforce the book, because as we layer in with collage and all that, it will eventually become quite thick and heavy. It can these guys can actually become so heavy they start to pull the binding of the smash book of the journal apart. So this is right just about in the middle here. You can see that actually this is the middle. You see the stitching right down the center. And for me, I always like to start with a red thread as my center. Let's see, I'm gonna find a red one in here, because for me, again, this is all about lineage and tying back to the lineage of intentional creativity. And so I always like to honor that with a red thread at the heart of the book. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure at least 3 book lengths. And you want to be able to have a good long tail. I think in this case, I'm going to do 4 so that the ribbons at the end after I tie it are as long as the book itself. Trim that off and tie it up. And then I'm going to do that in 2 more places, 2 more on either side of, let me see, there we go. So just tie it, make sure it's roughly even, and tie it off. All right. And then I'm going to pick four more ribbons and place them in additional spots. Here we go. Here's a little silver. I like that. So I'm going to go over here and tie in the silver ribbon. You can use lace, you can use yarn if that's what you have, or twine. I actually often like to use just plain hemp twine. It doesn't have to be ribbon by any stretch. There we go. There's that. And let's see what else we got here. There's some twine I was just talking about. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I like twine because it reminds me of nature, and it's such a simple tool. All right, we'll go. So we've gone here, and now let's go about another halfway here. Tie all the twine. All right. You can also tie the ribbons together if you like. I usually will do at the end, gather them all together with a red ribbon. So let's see, let's have a couple more. Let's have one. Do I have one that's in my, oh, I've got a lot of green in here, so maybe that. And there we go. Let's put one on that's a little bit extravagant for color. I don't know. Not feeling that today. I am, however, feeling this brown ribbon with the blue dots and this green ribbon. Okay, so right. All right, and I like this one because it's got my teal blue, that sort of higher self color that I like so much. It is pretty much the only other color in my wardrobe, actually, besides red, white, black, and gold. So that's actually kind of funny to me that it's all the colors of the alchemist plus soft blue, teal blue. All right, I'm going to take the red thread and wrap it around here. I tend to like to tie off my cluster of ribbons together. At the end, there we go, bring them all together. And okay, so spend as much time as you like decorating, gilding, and adding the ribbons and embellishments to your book. And then there's one more thing that I want to do before we continue, and that is we're going to go back to that resting page, and we're going to sort of take the next step, and we're going to put a layer of, in this case, we're going to glue some white paper down over it because, I might, if I had more time, I might do sort of a layer of gesso over it. But in this case, I want to demonstrate the process. And so once we've done, and this is a basic process that we use over and over again for pages throughout this book. If you join me for the next session after this, we will also create a grounding page in the book, but I want to finish working on the resting page that we started. So, or at least take it to the next step. And so what I've got here is just a piece of plain white copy paper. And the reason, as I mentioned, that I'm using this is because I really want to be able to work on it immediately. I don't want to have to wait for it to dry. So I'm going to just fold it and create a fresh layer. And so now this is, if we think about what this means in terms of symbolically, it is symbolizing that we are taking this inquiry, this issue, whatever it was that we put here to rest, and we're allowing something new to come over the top of it. And isn't that just what we would want in our lives as well, is to not to stay stuck in our problems or our challenges, but to create something new. And when you physically create this container in the book, that actually starts to translate to your mind. So if you want to do a quick page, you can just take your, and this is how I do it. I take a regular sheet of copy paper, I tear it in half, and glue it down with glue stick. And like I said, this is when I do not have time for gesso. I think I'm going to put actually the decal, the torn side on the outside. This is another advantage of using glue stick, is that if you change your mind, it can be pretty easy to go back and take things apart and put them back the way you want them. So, all right, glue stick. And Now I'm going to tape the edges just with some simple masking tape. So I've got a nice wide masking tape here. And so as you can see, now I've got a nice clean surface to work on. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move into the strategic thinking portion of this workshop. Okay, so I'm going to give you all a minute to, I'm going to pause the recording here while I finish setting up this page. And then we're going to set up our quarterly objectives and key results into this book. So, yeah, I'm going to be back in a minute as soon as this page is set up.
Very, very fine.
Okay, so Elena, thank you for offering to show your Smashbook before we start on the last part. And I would absolutely love to hear what your theme is for 2021 and how your Smashbook is coming together. And I'm going to put myself on mute so that you will have the screen.
Okay. The theme for this year, no next, okay, but also next, is to integrate my male part and be more proactive. Because sometimes I think about something, I say, yes, it's fine. And after I procrastinate and I didn't do what I am thinking. This is my idea for the 2021. Do also thinking, make it on one
I thought you said also what? I missed the word.
Is for school, for work with people. Is I think about one thing. In this moment, I am changing home, and I say, okay, before I do this, I do this, and I go to think about the program after. And not this year, I haven't to do this. I have to create a space for thinking at a structure to put together. This is my goal, one of my goals. And another one is to take a time for me every day, because sometimes you think, okay, today no, the day after, and no, the day after, today. The day after is another day. I have to be more structured, not rigid, but create a program, write a program. This year I write it. Normally I think about it and put down. This year I want to use Smashbooking for create with visual language a program, and thinking how to put down and do it. The word is do it. Before thinking, do it. The moment is now, because if you wait for the right moment, is not the right moment. Is another. Now is the right moment. I think this.
Well, I love all of that. I think I was telling you earlier that where I'm currently reading in Women Who Run with the Wolves, she talks a lot about the animus, which is the traditionally in Jungian psychology, it's the masculine aspect of the female psychology, and how a healthy animus is that masculine aspect of us that brings our creativity to manifest in the world, that brings it to market, and that allows us to actually make a difference in our life, in our community. And I think, ultimately, I think it reshapes the world when people act from their creative impulses instead of from the instructions that they're receiving from a culture and a society around them that is so obviously broken in so many ways. Why would we be accepting that as our source of authority anyway? So, and something else you said that I think is particularly powerful. The only power we ever have is now.
Yeah.
There's no power in the past.
One word is now, and do it.
Yes, yes.
I write it now on the cover.
Very good. Very, very good. In Italian?
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. So, so now that we have created this, um, once you have sort of focused in on what your theme is for the year, I want you to cover over your resting page. And so you see what I've done here. Actually, I decided to tape it on 3 sides and I've left the top open. What this does is it creates a little pocket. And I kind of like that because I may wind up using the pocket um, as part of this whole planning process. But what we're going to do now is take this page and we're going to say for January, February, and March, what is one thing that we can do? So my theme is work is art, is life, is love made visible. So my goal, if I were to say it, and I'm going to actually go in and write this in, now that I have this coming together, I'm going to go to the very center of my book where I have the red thread. And I'm going to turn off the extra speaker again. Apparently I keep hitting the mouse button as I'm moving my book around. So here in the center, this is where we're going to do our grounding page. So if you have a sense, and the framework that we're going to now spend the rest of the time on is called objectives and key results. So you want to have one sort of, you want to use this process and turn this concept into what is an objective? What would you like your life to look like? So I want to, for example, I want to in I want that's so if I were thinking it, and I am thinking this through, and I probably will need to spend some more time figuring this out. But for the purposes of this class, I need to come up with something right now on this spot. And you're lucky because you can take your time and do this and wait till it's natural. But let's see. If I were to frame it as an objective statement should be something that is aspirational, that inspires you. So to live creatively every day, for example, and to work creatively every day. And so to live, love, work, and create art every day, or to live. So I'm going to switch back over to my view here. And this is just going to be a message, and it's going to be a placeholder for our work in the next session, because this is something that I'd like to invite you to join me on. So All right, so you should be able to hear me and see my desktop again. And there we go. So, so the objective statement is sort of the big vision. And so go to the center of your book, the heart of your book, and it should not be, this is not a SMART goal. This is what the SMART goals are going to be designed to help you achieve. To live, love, and work with creativity every day. With and as art every day. This is actually feeling like a viable, like a true thing for me, like something that I actually do want, as art. I do want my life to be a work of art. And so, as I said, this center page here will become a grounding page. When I come back to it, I can ground into this intention, this objective. And now I'm going to go back to the resting page, and I am going to give myself this space to think about what are things that, what would it look like if I were doing this? So and so these are supposed to be more measurable. These are called, if this is the objective, next what we're going to do is look at creating some key results that if we achieve them, we know that we are making progress on our objective. So in order to achieve the objective of to live, love, and work with and as art every day, I need to take actions and do things in the real world. So to live, and I'm going to write that statement here just for reference. To live, love, and work. How did I have that? With and as art. With and as art every day. Every day. And so, what are the measurable results that I can define to actually help me move toward this? So, to live might be, and since I have 3, I'm going to actually take them. Work. What is a measurable thing I can do to live more creatively every day? So, daily Cosmic Smashbook practice. And complete 1 Cosmic Smashbook in Q1 2021. So what I've set here are concrete goals that I can measure. I have a habit tracker in my daily journal, and so I can track, did I do my Cosmic Smashbook practice or not? And I can measure that as a percent. How often am I actually practicing in my art journal? And then this is even more concrete. Can I complete 1 Cosmic Smashbook in Q1 2021? So that is, again, concrete activity I can do, and it's measurable. To love for me, I think that's mostly shown in my relationship to the people around me and to the community. And so I am going to give this some more thought because I'm not sure exactly what I can do. But in terms of work, I am striving to build my business. And so, how can I work on expanding the teaching work that I do in Studio Tara Aaron, and make sure that I have measurable progress toward that? Well, I actually already have some goals that I've been working on, and because I had quarterly objectives that I started using in quarter 4 of 2020. And I actually still need to continue making progress on that. So to create weekly artist in a cubicle videos, video logs on YouTube now, and then I want to create monthly Council of Muses. That's what COM stands for. Create monthly Council of Muses painting videos for Slack Classroom and Patreon. So what you're doing now is incorporating some left-brained type thinking into this creative format. And you may want to, after you've thought these through, you might want to write them out and put them in this pocket and be able to add another layer over this. And in fact, that's probably what I'm going to do. Once I have finished thinking these through, I am going to copy them down onto a checklist and put them in the pocket here. Let me see what I've got. Is this going to fit? This is not quite going to fit. It will if I cut this off. All right. So, all right. And you want anywhere from 1 to 3 key results, and you don't want to overextend. And then what you can do is revisit this at the end in 3 months from now and review whether you achieved your objectives or whether you still have room for improvement. And think about whether you want to continue working on these same things in, say April, May, June, or if you want to take some of them out and add some new ones in. And so I'm going to actually make this here. Okay, daily CSB, 1 CSB by 3/31/21. And then I don't know about that one yet. Like I said, weekly AIC. So content. So now I would like to see, Elena, if you're still here, what does this give you any ideas for how you might translate your goal of doing things now into some specific measurable goals for the first 3 months of 2021?
Yes, it's very useful. Is what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. because it's very, very powerful and very, very clear. And I do it.
Yeah.
It's very kind.
Yeah. Cool. Very, very cool. Well, so basically the remainder of this work then, and you're welcome to stay as long as you like. I'm going to continue working here for a little bit, is to take your take your vision and turn that into some ideas for some activities that you can use to actually make that happen. So now that I've got these listed on here, I am going to take some gesso over the top of this actually, because I'm not necessarily planning to do much more with it today. And I'm going to paint over this, and what this does is this now creates a new surface for me to work on. So another day I may come back here and start with collage or drawing, or even more just writing over the top of it, and create the next layer. Because that's the thing, is we're constantly creating new openings and new choices and new options for ourselves. And we're always building on what we've done before. And this is so true, particularly in cosmic smashbooking. That's, I think, for me, one of the reasons that makes it so useful is that, you know, even though I started this page as sort of just dumping out on frustration, I get to see how I get to change that. I get to physically change it on the page, and it makes me feel more empowered to do that in my life, frankly. So yeah, so I'm gonna just cover this page in gesso here, and this will take a while to dry. So I think that's gonna wrap up our session for today. And again, I will send follow up with a link for those of you who are watching later. Keep an eye out on your email for a Zoom link for an additional session that I will do in the next week or two to create the grounding page, and maybe take this resting page to its next step. So, you never can tell when you're going to flow over. I just put this brush in here and it spilled my paint jar over. So yeah, not so good. Anyway, didn't get near my keyboard, so that's good. And so I would love to see, I would love to see if you want to share. You can find me on social media and tag me in a post if you want, in the Red Thread Cafe Classroom. Let me see, I'm going to switch back over to the main view.
Yes, I do it. Not now, because for
Oh
me,
no, I didn't mean you. I didn't mean with you. I just meant I just
and
meant,
I
yeah,
have
with,
to eat. But on the Red Thread Cafe is
yeah,
okay for you. Okay.
yeah, it'd be fun.
Yes. It's very, very powerful and very, 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 very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you for staying and letting me practice teaching, Elena.
It is also help for me to see another sister work, because here in Italy um, we don't talk a lot, and not in this kind of mode.
Mhm.
I am an art therapist, and only psychiatric talk about. When we form, we say you don't speak. go or propose some activity at the people, but don't speak. You have in USA, I think you are a coach. Yes, also. Yeah.
I'm an executive assistant, but yeah, I do a lot of mentoring.
Yes, and
Professionally.
it's a kind of way to support to be born and insight about things concretely, but to go, oh yes, it's easy. It's not easy. It's easy if you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I this year, last year, 2020, for me, Red Thread community was a great support because we are closer before USA, and I discovered another word. Because some part in Italy was focused on what is wrong in you. Okay, it's not a good way. A lot of people now who work with people or like psychiatric psychotherapists wrote, all Italian people have a mental problem. We have to contact a psychiatric because we became crazy. Okay, some people has a lot of problem, like women who have a bad marriage or so on, but it's not all the people in the same way. And this approach is very powerful because put a light to what is okay. I lost the word in English. Is like a fire. You can take a look at the fire and work. It's not only think go okay, but you have some instrument. Is very because in Italy, coach mentor doesn't exist. I think. I don't know the difference about coach and mentor. It's not clear for me because I don't know this profession. But the coach has some problems in Italy because some other people who work with people speak badly about a coach.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say the difference is primarily a coach is somebody who you would engage professionally to help you work through a specific goal or problem that you're dealing with. A mentor is more a colleague that helps you figure things out. Usually somebody that you know in your circle, or a circle of friends, or through your friends, but they do coaching kind of, but it's a little it's more of a, for me, it's more about helping people I worked with, you know, just making sure that other people who were in a similar role to mine, that I shared my knowledge and could help them succeed. It was more unique to the organization that we worked in together.
Is USA people, the sister of Red Thread, also because Smash booking. For me, that I don't speak English very well. It's a problem for me at the beginning. And I didn't find the judgment, uh, or not for kindness, but it's true. It's not a problem. Speak how you can.
Yeah.
I can understand. Okay, for me it's an help because I think I don't know English very well. I am crazy to subscribe Color Woman because I don't understand nothing. It's not the truth. Okay, sometimes I lost some pieces, but I watch again the record and I understand better. My English is better than the beginning, not better for work with English people, obviously. But for me, is because my mother was a lot of judgment. I lost a lot. This
Yeah.
is good.
Oh.
I have to go because the dog have to eat.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
It's
maybe
very
we'll do grounding pages another time. All
yes.
righty. All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And so I just want to thank you all for watching this video and for making your smash books. And I hope we'll see you back for another session. And you'll be able to join us live and in person when we do the next layer on our resting pages and create grounding pages to help us stay focused on the intention of the experience we want to create in this coming year. Thank you.